Now we will talk of the conditions for two lines to be parallel. That is, suppose we have two lines which are parallel. Let's say we have two lines which are parallel to each other, and we want to find the relationship between their slopes. How are their slopes related to each other? Let's say this is line M1, it is having a slope M1. This is line L2 and it is having a slope of M2. Now we want to find out how are these two related to each other. Now we know that the angle between the two lines is given by this formula, M1 minus M2 upon 1 plus M1 M2 mod. We are using mod just for the case that we want the acute angle. We want the acute angle. Now, if the two lines are parallel, then what would be the angle between them? Then the angle between them is 0. What is the angle between them? The angle between them is 0. Therefore, theta is what? 0. This theta is what? 0. This is the angle between the two lines. Now what is tan 0? Tan 0 is 0. Therefore, M1 minus M2 upon 1 plus M1 M2 is 0. And this is possible only when M1 minus M2 comes out to be 0. If this is 0, only then we will get 0. Therefore, M1 minus M2 should be 0. Therefore, what do we get? M1 is equal to M2. This tells you that if the lines are parallel, their slopes will be equal. If the lines are parallel, then their slopes would be equal. And if their slopes are equal, and slopes come from what? Inclination, and hence their angle of inclination is also same. Angle of inclination is also same. And this is obvious. Why? If the lines are parallel, for example, in the above case we have taken the lines to be parallel to x-axis. Even if they are not parallel to x-axis, they are simply parallel to each other. Let's say the lines are like this. They are parallel to each other. They are parallel to each other. The angle between these two lines, this is L1, this is L2. The slope of this line is M1, the slope of this line is M2. Now if these two lines are parallel, then what is this x-axis? X-axis acts as what? The transversal line. And we know from the properties of angle, this angle will be equal to this angle corresponding. But these angles are what? These are the angles of inclination of the lines. This is theta 1, this is theta 2. And you are saying that theta 1 is equal to theta 2. Therefore, tan theta 1 will be equal to tan theta 2. But tan theta 1 is what? M1. And what is tan theta 2? This is M2. And this is what we have proved earlier. So, if the lines are parallel, their inclinations would be same and hence their slopes would be same. If I tell you the slope of one of the line is 2, if the slope of one of the lines, the slope of a line is 2, therefore the slope of line parallel to the above line will also have a slope of, the slope of line parallel to the above line will be what? It will also have a slope of 2, because parallel lines have equal slopes. You just have to remember that if the lines are parallel, their slopes would be equal. The second thing that we have to study is condition for lines to be perpendicular. That is, suppose we have two lines and they are intersecting at an angle of 90 degree. The angle between them is 90 degree. Let's say this is the slope of the first line, this is the slope or rather inclination of the second line. This is L2, this is L1. Now, what is the angle between the two lines? 90. Therefore theta is what? 90 degree. Therefore tan 90 is what? m1 minus m2 upon 1 plus m1 m2, which simply means, now what is tan 90? Tan 90 is undefined. Undefined means something upon 0. Anything upon 0. Now if denominator is 0, therefore this part has to be 0. Only when this is 0 will we get the denominator as 0. Therefore m1 into m2 plus 1 should be what? 0. Therefore m1 into m2 should be what? Minus 1. This is the required condition for lines to be perpendicular. Whenever you are told that the lines are perpendicular, then what you have to think of is the product of their slopes should be minus 1. Product of the slopes should be minus 1 for lines to be perpendicular. For example, if the slope of a line is 2 and we want to find the slope of the line which is perpendicular to this line, so therefore what would be its slope? Let's say this is m1 and the slope that we want is, let's say, m2. So what should we do? These two lines are perpendicular. Therefore what should we do? We should take the product of these two slopes and put this equal to minus 1. Now what is m1? 2. And what is the slope of our line? m2. So how will we get m2? m2 is what? Minus 1 by 2. Therefore the slope of our line would be minus half. So once you are told that the lines are perpendicular, make sure the product of their slopes becomes minus 1. If you know the slope of one of the line, you can find the slope of the other line.